Well, great day, Hub family. Welcome to the Hub, all things for us. Now, if you haven't taken notice, this is a critical time around the country. You see, every 4 years, it's around this time when gangs usually pop out to rep their set. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
What you looking at me foul like that for? I know you. You were goddamn 88.
That's right.
You lucky we up in here. It's on the outs. You be dead.
I'll kill you right here, right now.
Well, not this type of gang from Gridiron Gang, but it probably looks something like this.
Trump hand-picked 3 members of the United States Supreme Court.
Kamala has crackled as the American economy has burned. What happened to her laugh? I haven't heard that laugh in about a week. That's why they keep her off the stage. That's why she's disappeared. That's the laugh of a crazy person, I will tell you.
Now, family, I'm not here to tell you who you should vote for. This platform is open, it's honest, and I want us to not agree on everything. But let me say this. If you Google the word gangster, by definition, one of those people would actually be considered a gangster. In fact, you would probably see it defined as somebody who incited a riot or a coup against its own government. And their last name would rhyme with Thump. And they've been convicted of crimes. But family, listen. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm comparing the election to that of a gang. It's because every single year that this comes around, you'll see red and blue warring against each other, just like the Crips and Bloods. But as you know, on this platform, I'm here to look out for people of African descent. We matter. But also, when the elections come around, it seems like there's an emphasis put on the priorities of Black people when there's a need for the Black vote. So I did a little bit of digging around. I want to see what it is that people of African descent in this country prioritize. And I want you guys to take a look at an article that I found published by the Pew Research Center that talks about what should Black people prioritize, or what do Black people prioritize in the upcoming elections. It says that 79% of Black Americans prioritize improving the education system. Now, it also says that Black Americans want to ensure Social Security as much as strengthening the economy. Now, there's also reducing healthcare costs, dealing with problems of poor people, and addressing issues around race. So every year I encounter someone who says that our votes don't matter, or they're wondering, why should I vote? So here's what I want to do this year, family. I want to talk about what is it that Black people of African descent in this country should prioritize. What should we be looking out for? And really, how are you feeling about this year's climate of elections? Go ahead and check out, family, some of the folks I spoke with. But again, welcome to the Hub, my brother.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Oluwatobi Ojo,
Okay, yes, sir.
but you can just call me Toby.
And we both know that you're from Nigeria.
Yes.
And I also know that I'm Nigerian too.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Amazing. So, man, I've been asking people about the upcoming elections. Obviously, it's a critical time in America, but really for Black people, I want to know, is this something, how are you feeling, one, just about the election?
I feel like the election coming up is going to be really, really controversial, especially with Biden dropping out too, and all these rumors that we're hearing. Honestly, I'm gonna just leave it in God's hands at the end of the day, because I feel like we could go back and forth arguing about who's better suited for the position, but I really believe that God needs to take control of this country and just let His will be done.
Man, part of the conversation has been for Black people, a lot of times, some folks will say that our votes don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then around times like this, our vote is probably the most important to get somebody elected. So not even asking who you're voting for,
but just exercising that right at all.
Yeah. What do you think is important? Like, what are some issues, some challenges that you see that you want to see solved, but that need to be focused on?
I believe Black people definitely do need to be more educated in area of politics, and not just being educated, but engaging their rights that that was fought for from way back when.
Yeah. Well, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you.
Thank
you. Yes,
you.
indeed. It was a pleasure having you on. How are y'all feeling about, without saying who y'all are voting for, unless y'all want to, how are y'all feeling about the candidates?
I'm honestly excited just because this is a first for us, especially, well, not a first for the race, but a first for the gender, hinting at who I'm voting for. But I honestly just am really excited to see what will happen. Hopefully, God will be on our side. Yeah.
I think it's significant because it's kind of exciting having a person of our race running for election because you don't see a lot of people of our color going out and doing big things. So it's actually kind of great. And also, she's a woman. We already had previously, not like previously, like had her in the office, but she tried to run and it didn't work out. So it's actually kind of great that another woman is actually trying to stand and take her step and trying to make a change in this world.
I also feel like it's good, like the candidates, because I feel like right now, because like we're all 18 or whatever, we get to like learn more about like the election, like the whole process, and like what actually goes on. Because like I feel like being younger, like you heard about it or like what your parents said, but like now that like we're actually like we get to be a part of it, we get to learn more and be like actually involved with it.
Wow, wow. So my last question, and y'all speak very well, by the way. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Y'all should run next in the next 4 years. So considering this election, for Black people, what do you think should be the primary focus when it comes to like issues? Like what's most important to get solved or fixed?
Student loans. I know I just started college, but I literally had to look at my parents' bill and how much they paid to go to a college. It's actually kind of crazy. I also feel like we should step up in schools in general, like elementary, middle, and high school, because I don't think they get enough money for their programs and all that stuff, because I feel like just the education field in general is like kind of going downhill money-wise. So I feel like we should actually have a stand in that and make sure that we're getting better education and make sure teachers are getting praised more.
Yes. My focus would be inflation. Just seeing the prices of things, comparing them, seeing through social media, like how much something was last year just compared to this year alone is just insane. The cost of living, the homeless population increasing, and nobody's really paying attention to that is like unfortunate. Hopefully, with this election and the candidate that wins, we'll be able to fix that issue and make it more feasible to live in America.
I feel like touching on like the homeless people, like the homeless veterans, because like they're serving our country and that they're homeless. That is like that makes like no sense to me. That, and then like back to like the whole thing about education. I was like a college student for like English, and so I would tutor like other like high school students, and some of them had like 5th grade reading levels in the 12th grade. Like that is really a problem.
So when you consider this year's election, right? It's all over the news. Everybody's being tasked to vote. What are just your surface level feelings about the election?
Okay, so housing, affordable housing. We got to get that right. Affordable housing. I'm going to get it right. And working with the DOC, I do that for my son. He's incarcerated. How we got one of the bills passed through housing and the governor that got passed on July the 1st, helping incarcerated folks with their time. Yes, because they wasn't giving them their good time. So, you know, can lessen their time. Yes. Housing, homelessness. I mean, that's my pet peeve.
Those are the priorities.
Yeah, my pet peeve.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of times the big election that happens every 4 years for
Yeah.
the president, that's the one that gets highlighted. Do you usually, it sounds like you may participate in local
In the
elections.
primaries, yes. I vote in them too.
Yes.
Yes, because that's the vote that's going to say that these people can get in there. Yeah,
Right.
and the ones that got to hash some out because everybody can't get in there. Yeah, so I do the primaries too.
And the last thing I'll ask is what would you say to people of African descent in this country?
Vote!
Okay.
Go get, well, I help people get registered to vote too. So get registered, get ready, let's go.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you. Appreciate you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What was good, Her Family? You just saw the interviews that I conducted with some young folks. There were also some, I don't like saying older, some more mature folks in there, but again, that was the next generation. A lot of the people that I spoke with, and they're the ones who will be up next. And so that was important to hear their perspective, as well as people who are just in a current situation that impact change through voting. And so I thought that was highly important. That was a really good conversation, and I want to say thank you to those people who shared with me their time, their opinions. And let me just say this. The thing about opinions is that we have to know that it starts with the letter O. And so I thought of this today and I was like, why do we get so worked up over, let's say, the opinions of others? And in an environment like this, where I'm creating a space where it's family oriented, where it's for people of African descent, we always won't necessarily agree. And sometimes we may agree, but it's important to know that it starts with the letter O, which means that you own it. That's your opinion. So that's my new definition. You have an opinion, you own it. And so I say that's your O because you own that opinion. So thank you again to those people who shared. I really thought they provided great insight. Now, again, today I might be a little bit heavy on numbers. So I want to take you guys to an article, really just some research as well that I saw. And let's go ahead and take a look at census.gov. And I want this to provide our perspective. Now, here's where I stand personally on elections, and you'll see through this. There was a stat taken in 2022 by census.gov. Now, this is the latest findings that I could find for this sort of statistic. And it showed that 17.1% of Black people have the highest poverty rate. Now, listen, this was a historic low, but whites and Asians have the lowest, coming in around 8%. Now, some may say that's improved, but I still see far too many areas that need to be fixed. The fact that Black people still lead at the top of the chart in that category is an issue. And so when you ask me what types of things are of high concern during election season, consistently, this has been the leading statistic for Black people, which if any of us know the real conversation, let's just be real. People will talk about crime reduction. People will talk about many, many different things that need to happen in the Black community, education, all of these different things. But if you look where it could all be linked to, it's going to be economics. And so when I think about the economy and distribution of wealth, it's all important. And a lot of what we're seeing now, the happiness, if you're seeing crime and homicide rates, all these different things, and gun control is a whole nother issue. But a lot of this stems from the fact that we and people who still look like us and our families, people we know, people we've seen on the streets, are still under that line. That 17.1% is representative of people we may even know and see every day. And so I want us to keep that at the forefront in our perspectives. Now, for a country, here's why I also want us to hold this season of elections and the people who run for office accountable. Now, I'm honestly not telling you who you should vote for. That's really up to you. But I did give my opinion. I've shared it. This is my platform, so I'm going to share stuff. But I want you guys to go out and do your own research. Do it deeply. Read all the articles that you can. Read from many different sources. And also really look up policies and look at resources that the government provides on certain policies and things that have happened under whether it's the Republican or Democratic regime. But here's what I want to say again. Back to my point, for a country that says this nation is under God, I can honestly say I don't believe it's held that end of the bargain. You see, I likened this in my earlier kind of monologue when I talked. I was telling you guys that, look, every year around this time, what becomes important is the Black vote. And so now I'm not saying they had this intention, but like to see Amber Rose at Donald Trump's rally, to see Megan Thee Stallion twerking on stage at Kamala Harris's rally, it's obviously to appeal to a certain sector. And so what that means is that our vote, especially during this time, is important. But I would ask, why is it that the other 365, 64 days, whatever, how many days, and plus over the years, why aren't those days important? Why are they not beating down the doors of Black people then? That's my challenge with elections. And so when I think of what's happening next for us, if y'all talk about one nation under God, then I'm gonna have to go to Luke 4:18. And I know scripture sometimes, a lot of people say, okay, here he goes, but this is important because you tell me you're one nation under God and this nation says that it's Christian. And so when I read Luke 4:18 and I hear Jesus say, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, For he has appointed me to preach the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, that the blind will see, that the downtrodden will be freed from their oppressors, and that the time of the Lord's favor has come. This is the words of Jesus. And so the nation always talks about we're one nation under God, that we follow Christian principles. Our systems don't reflect what I just heard in that verse. Just because things look nice and a few of us can get degrees and nice cars doesn't mean that everybody's free. And so I would challenge that thought process. There are many of us, and this statistic indicates it, we still have the highest poverty rate in this country, which tells me, in the context of the times that we're living in now, these are the very people that Jesus will be with. And he would also be speaking truth to power to the very government and the politicians that we see in front of us each and every day on our TV screens. So I just challenge that as we think about all of this within the framework, if this is a nation under God, no matter what you believe, this is what they're telling us. So we have to hold them to that, right? Like, this is what I'm holding them to. Then if that's the case, I don't know if too many captives have been set free. Incarceration rates would tell me differently. And so here's what I want us to think about. All of the politicians will put their right hand on this thing. The judge, the courts, when they get sworn in, they have to put their hand on the Bible. That's the thing. And I'm just asking, when we consider all that we've seen over the years, when we know and acknowledge the history of the United States, when we look at the political realm, every year it seems like the same story is playing back in the loop. We have to hold them accountable to this and challenge it. Now, I do encourage you to get out and exercise your right to vote. Exercise and do your research. Exercise your right to really acknowledge what's best for people of African descent in this country. And by that, you really have to look at the policies and understand what they intend to do long term. Like when you hear about, I know the eye-popping things are always in the news. There's always going to be stuff about abortion. There's always going to be stuff about LGBTQ rights, the economy. These are things that are going to pop out. But also go in depth and see what does that mean for society, any of the policies. Ask the deeper questions. And then more importantly, too, I noticed that, when I interviewed my folks, and they're still young, some of them are still young, but also there's value in your local elections. So I encourage you to get out and look at your local politicians, because 9 times out of 10, some of the very things we care about are the cities we live in. And they're happening right in front of us. But voting for this election is highly important, yes, the presidential election, but then also participating throughout the year and knowing who's running for city council, knowing who's your mayor, knowing who's sitting in these different seats, so that you can impact the very things around you. Because then when presidential elections come and they go to each state to canvass and to ask questions, we will have to acknowledge that our states are represented by how we vote as well. And so if it's a red or blue state, that's influenced by our local elections. So let's make sure we get involved. Let's make sure we keep our eyes open. And let's make sure that we pay attention and not get so stressed out about something like this. I know this is critical. I know it's serious. I know it's significant. But it's like the interviewee said, God is in control. And so I fully believe in that. And I want us all to feel that same way. So Hub family, this was another edition of the Hub. We got to talk about elections and politics. This won't be the only time you hear about this from me. Come November, there's going to be some great guests coming on the show. But I really appreciate you all rocking with me and staying with me and watching and supporting. This means a lot. And I just pray and hope that you all would continue to tune in and give me feedback, comment, engage with me. I like it. And let's all remember to be respectful of each other. But that's it for this week, family. That's all I got. I thank you. I appreciate you. Hub family, I'm out. All things for us. See y'all soon.